Indicted in June 1992 for Melissa Northrup's capital murder in McLennan County, McDuff's trial featured overwhelming evidence. Accomplice Worley's testimony, hair matches from his car to Northrup, blood traces, and eyewitness accounts of his Thunderbird at the Quick Pack. Despite lacking Reed's body initially, prosecutors established corpus delicti via screams heard by Worley, Reed's abandoned belongings, and McDuff's consistent modus operandi. Convicted on February 18, 1993, he received death. A separate Travis County trial for Reed's murder in 1994 yielded another death sentence, upheld in 1997 despite appeals challenging evidence sufficiency, accomplice corroboration, and venue changes. McDuff's final appeals, including habeas corpus claims of ineffective counsel and prosecutorial misconduct, failed before the U.S. Supreme Court. On November 17, 1998, at age 52, McDuff was executed by lethal injection at Huntsville's Walls Unit. Before dying, he revealed Reed's burial site, allowing her family's closure. Her remains were found days later. His last words denied remorse. "I'm ready to be released. Release me," epitomizing his psychopathy. Witnesses included victims' families and media. No McDuff relatives attended.
Criminologically, McDuff embodied the dark triad: psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, untreated by prison programs focused on warehousing rather than therapy. His crimes post-parole, suspected in up to 14 total murders, illustrate recidivism risks in high psychopathy individuals per studies like those in the Journal of Criminology. Sociologically, his case exposed racial and class biases. As a white man from a connected family, he benefited from lenient parole, while marginalized groups faced harsher scrutiny. McDuff's spree ignited the McDuff Rules, a sweeping overhaul. Texas expanded prisons massively, adding space for 12,000 via new facilities and rehab centers, costing billions. Parole boards gained autonomy with stricter guidelines. Capital murderers now serve at least 35 to 40 years before eligibility, and violent offenders face enhanced scrutiny. As expert Parker noted, the anomaly wasn't one McDuff, but the potential for hundreds amid quota-driven releases. These reforms, while improving safety, sparked criticism for overcorrecting toward mass incarceration, exacerbating racial disparities. Texas's prison population ballooned, with Black and Latino inmates disproportionately affected, per ACLU reports.
In academia, McDuff became a case study in law reviews and criminology texts, illustrating parole pitfalls and the need for risk assessments like the Violence Risk Appraisal Guide. It highlighted how fiscal conservatism under governors like Clements prioritized budgets over public safety, a pattern seen in broader U.S. tough-on-crime eras. McDuff's case became a textbook example of why violent offenders should not be granted early release. The public outcry forced the state to act. A sweeping series of reforms, nicknamed the McDuff Rules, were enacted in Texas. Parole boards were given stricter guidelines, emphasizing risk assessment and evidence-based decisions. Violent offenders, especially those convicted of murder, faced tighter parole restrictions. Texas invested in building more prisons to reduce overcrowding and eliminate parole quotas tied to bed shortages. Kenneth McDuff's reign of terror changed the system. It taught a painful, costly lesson. Justice isn't just about punishing the guilty. It's about protecting the innocent before more lives are lost.
The reforms that followed were not mere political gestures. They reshaped how Texas and many other states handle violent offenders. The so-called McDuff rules became a symbol of how tragedy can drive progress. All parole requests for violent criminals now undergo a multi-stage review that requires psychological evaluations, criminal profiling, and a comprehensive risk assessment. Victim advocacy groups were given stronger representation during hearings to ensure that the voices of survivors and victims' families would never again be ignored. The Texas justice system, long criticized for its harshness, paradoxically found itself needing reform not because it was too tough, but because it wasn't tough enough on the right people. Kenneth McDuff's story is a horror tale, no doubt, but more than that, it's a lesson about how one failure, one signature on a parole form can lead to irreversible consequences. It's a case study in how bureaucracy, indifference, and lack of accountability can cost real lives.
But in the end, it's also a story about reckoning. The public outrage, the media exposure, and the tireless work of investigators, journalists, and grieving families forced a system to confront itself. We've based this podcast series on verified and trusted sources, including trial records from the Texas Supreme Court, official documentation on parole reforms from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and in-depth reporting from publications like Houston Chronicle and Austin American-Statesman. Thank you for joining us through this chilling, heartbreaking, but necessary journey. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more stories that dive deep into crime, justice, and the human truths hidden behind courtroom walls.